A girl named Alice got tired of walking all day without doing anything. The heat made her sleepy. Suddenly she noticed the white rabbit, who was in a hurry somewhere. It seemed strange to the girl that he was talking to himself and kept looking at his watch. Burning with curiosity, Alice rushed after the rabbit, and without hesitation jumped after him into the hole. Inside was a deep well, the walls of which were lined with bookcases. Alice fell very slowly and managed to see everything properly. Once at the bottom of the well, the girl noticed a glass table with 3 legs. On it lay a small golden key and some kind of bottle. Alice tried to open the door with the key, but it was too small. Looking around, she saw a small door. To open it and find herself in a magnificent garden, Alice had to drink from a bottle from the table. After taking a couple of sips, she began to decrease in size. The girl shrank so quickly that she did not have time to take the key from the table. Then she saw a magic pie on the floor. As soon as Alice took a bite, she began to grow rapidly upward. The girl grew so much that she could not go through the cherished door again. Alice began to cry so much that soon a huge puddle formed near her. At that moment she noticed the white rabbit. The girl called him, but he was in a hurry, and in fright dropped his gloves and fan. Alice picked them up and noticed how she began to shrink. The reason was a magic fan. Alice fell into a pool of her own tears. When she was thrown ashore, the girl again noticed the rabbit. He confused Alice with his maid, and ordered to immediately go home for new gloves and a fan. The girl ran to carry out the order. In the rabbit's house, she could not resist curiosity, and drank some liquid from a bottle. This led to the fact that Alice grew to gigantic proportions, and quickly filled the whole house. She was able to shrink only thanks to the pies. Having regained her previous dimensions, the girl ran away. Soon she saw a huge mushroom on which a large blue caterpillar was sitting. Alice complained to her about her constant changes in height. The caterpillar advised the girl to eat a piece of mushroom. Alice ate a small bite and finally returned to her normal height. And she went on. Suddenly, Alice saw a house. Going inside, the girl was in the kitchen, in which she saw the Duchess with a crying baby in her arms. A huge cat was sitting on the floor, smiling from ear to ear. The Duchess explained to Alice that he was smiling because it was a Cheshire cat. Suddenly the cat disappeared and the baby burst into tears. The Duchess gave the child to Alice, and she herself went to the Queen. The girl was surprised to find that she was not holding a child, but a real little pig. When the cat reappeared, he advised Alice to find the March hare. And then he disappeared, and only his smile remained in the air. The girl hit the road. Soon she saw the house of the March hare. Alice came just in time for the beginning of the tea party. The table was huge, but only the March hare, the Mad Hatter and Sonia the mouse were sitting at it. They would not let anyone sit at the table, and said that there was no room. Alice learned that they were forced to drink tea incessantly as punishment for killing time. The hare and the hatter mocked the girl in every possible way and ridiculed her. Unable to tolerate such rudeness, she silently got up and left. Soon Alice found herself in a wonderful garden. She noticed gardeners who looked like playing cards. They dyed white roses red. The girl was very surprised at this. She learned that their queen loved red roses, and only white ones grew. The queen executed her servants for the slightest offense. The gardeners said she was judging the servant who stole the cookies right now. Alice was very interested, and she went to court. There she saw the March hare and the Mad Hatter testifying. When they finished, the queen suddenly summoned Alice for questioning. The girl replied that she knew nothing and ordered to let the servant go. The queen got angry and ordered to grab the girl. At that moment, Alice felt that she began to grow again. The girl realized that these were just cards, and she was not afraid of them. And at that very moment, the magic disappeared. Alice woke up in the same clearing where she first saw the white rabbit. There was a familiar landscape around, familiar sounds were heard. So it was only a dream, thought Alice. On a small farm, in dense thickets of burdock, the mother duck found a cozy place to build her nest. She waited for the chicks to hatch. One sunny morning, the eggshells crackled and tiny fluffy ducklings were born. There was only one egg left, the largest one that did not want to crack. The duck began to worry that something was wrong with him. She sat down on the egg again and decided to wait a little longer. The duck mom gave all the heat she could. She thought that this chick must be the most beautiful since she has been incubating him for so long. Soon a chick hatched from the last egg, but it did not look like the rest of the ducklings at all. It was much larger, and its feathers were gray. The duck mom was upset to see such an ugly son. But she hoped that someday he would become like his fellows. The rest of the ducklings laughed at him. They considered him disgusting and did not want to play with him. The next morning, the mother duck went with her children to the lake. To her surprise, the ugly duckling swam as well as others. The duck then brought her little ones to the poultry yard to introduce them to society. She told the ducklings about the rules of behavior with local inhabitants. The duck presented its brood to the noblest fat drake, but he attacked the ugly duckling, and she was forced to protect her failed chick. Fat Drake ordered to drive the freak out of the yard. Mother assured that he would grow up and become like other ducklings. Unable to withstand the bullying and humiliation, the ugly duckling left the poultry yard. In search of a safer place, he came across a beautiful lake, on which there was no one. And the duckling decided to stay here to live. Time has passed. Despite his loneliness, the ugly duckling was happy that no one offends him. And then one day, a beautiful white bird with a long neck flew to his lake. The ugly duckling did not know what kind of bird it was, but he looked at it with admiration. He loved her with all his heart. How a duckling would like to be like this lovely white bird. Winter came and it started snowing. The ugly duckling saw white snow for the first time. He was delighted with this sight. But due to the fact that the winter was very snowy, it was very difficult for the duckling to find food. He had to walk around the neighborhood in search of food. He was cold and tired. So the ugly duckling got to the farmer's house. When the peasant saw a thin and unhappy chick, he felt sorry for him. The farmer decided that he would keep the duckling with him until he was fattened and matured. Spring has come. The owner took good care of the chick, and he grew up a lot. The duckling already needed a lot of space, and the farmer decided to release him to the lake. Standing on the shore of the lake, the ugly duckling looked at his reflection in the water. And he could not believe his eyes. He could not recognize himself, and thought that there was someone else behind him. And then the duckling realized that the wonderful bird in the reflection is himself. To celebrate, he thrashed and swam all over the lake from edge to edge. And suddenly he saw the same beautiful white bird with a long neck, which he had seen once before. The ugly duckling decided to swim closer to her. But the beautiful bird was not frightened, but on the contrary she smiled and winked, and together they swam across the lake. The ugly duckling couldn't believe his happiness. Passing by, a fat drake on the shore of the lake said that he had never seen such a beautiful young swan in his life. What was his surprise when he found out that the ugly duckling that he once drove from the poultry yard was a beautiful swan. It turns out that the ugly duckling was a swan from the very beginning. An egg accidentally fell into a duck's nest. And when the beautiful young swan returned home, then everyone in the poultry yard became very ashamed that they had once offended him because of his appearance.